this is the model that we have completed until in the last tutorial. And as you can see, as mentioned in the last tutorial, this image looks a little bit wrong because you can see the reflection of the space shuttle happening in space, which is not possible. So let's see how we can actually correct this in our Photoworks settings. To access the different scene settings, all we need to do is right click on the scene folder in the render manager and go to edit scenery. Another edit scenery, you can play with the different tabs here, and in these different tabs it will control how light actually bounces off the model. So let's take a look at room, for example. So for room, in the render we saw a reflective image of the space shuttle on the floor because under the floor option in visibility and appearances, it is set to visible. So if I do not want to have any reflection on the floor, all we need to do is uncheck this option, ensure that all the visible checkboxes are unchecked. So click on apply. Let's do a sample render to see if this reflection is still there. And as you can see, the reflection has disappeared in this rendered image. Okay, now let's go on to insert some light elements into our space shuttle. Many times in space shuttle images, we may want to have some kind of a fog light in the background to make it look realistic, to make it look like the jet engines are in operation. So to insert lights to our SolidWorks models, all we need to do is go back to the Feature Manager design tree. There should be a folder called Lights, Cameras and Scene. Right click on it and you can see the different lights that you can apply. So let's insert a spotlight. So I click on Spotlight. Okay, and you should see a property manager that will pop up, allowing you to control the ambient, the brightness of the light. You can control the position of the light as well. Okay, so to help us in positioning this spotlight, okay, ensure that this checkbox is checked. The lock to model checkbox is checked. So click on it. So let's drag this spotlight over to here, near the tail end of the space shuttle. Okay, you may need to go to different views to help you in positioning the spotlights. Okay, so the position looks okay. Now it's time to position the focus of the spotlight. So we may want to bring this spotlight a little bit into the space shuttle. And maybe for the target, let's make it horizontal. So there you go. This is how we insert the spotlight. Okay. You may also want to play with the colors of this spotlight. So for example, if I would like the spotlight to be yellow in color, so we just go to edit color, and this is where we choose the color of our lights. So pick on yellow and hit OK. Okay. Now, if you like the spotlight to have a kind of fog light effect, we can actually turn on this option under Photoworks Properties. So click on Photoworks Properties. If I would like to use a fog light, just click on it and hit OK. So let's take a look at how the rendered image will look like here. So just go to Render. And in this image, you should see a yellowish glow appearing at the back of the space shuttle. And you can see, if you look closely enough, you should be able to see the cone edges formed by this spotlight. and of course it will make the background image looks a bit blurred, a bit more blurred, and it makes it look a lot more realistic. Okay, so maybe at this point I would like to insert another glowing light at the back of the space shuttle, okay, to give it to give the jet engine kind of feel. Okay, so all we need to do is to expand the lights, cameras, and scenes folder, right click on it, and insert a point light. So I click on point light, and after I've inserted this light, you'll notice that this option is very similar to the spotlight option. Okay, so before you position the light, you can see the light on screen here. Before you position the light, make sure you check on this checkbox called Lock to Model. Okay, so we just go to the different views to position this light. I like to place this here. Okay, right at the center between the three engines. Okay, maybe well, this position looks good. Okay, and I would like it to have a maybe kind of orangey effect. So I will change the color to orange. Okay, and I would like it to have a fog light effect. And of course, if you like a greater fog density, you can always play with these values. Okay, hit OK. Now let's do a render to see how this looks like. And straight away, with the orange fog light, the orange point light, okay, you can see it looks a little more realistic. Now there's an orangey glow to your model. Now this image still looks a little bit flat, okay, mainly because there isn't any perspective applied to this image. So if you would like to have some form of perspective in your rendering, you can always go to View. Under Display, there is this command here called Perspective. So click on it, and there you go. You should see some form of perspective happening, being displayed on your model. Okay, so if you're happy with this view, and let's say I want to output this rendered image into a picture file, you can always click on this option called Render to File. And in the Render to File option, all you need to do is select the folder that you want to save the file to. Okay, give it a name. Maybe I shall call it Shuttle version 1, and choose a format that you want to save to. You can save it as a JPEG file, a PNG file, a bitmap file, TIFF file, etc. So spend some time to play around with the different file types that this can output to. Okay, so for this tutorial, I will save it as a JPEG file. Okay, and in the field below, this is where you specify the size of the output image. So for purposes of using on a desktop, okay, maybe I like it to be 800 by 600. Okay, and of course, if you are preparing to print out this image into an A3 size paper, for example, so make sure you key in the exact dimensions of this A3 size paper, okay, so that there won't be any loss in the rendering process. Okay, and right below here, you get to control the kind of image quality that you want. So if you like a very, very high detail image quality, you can click on high. Okay, but do bear in mind, the higher quality you render, the bigger the file size. So if you're happy with all these settings, just click on render. And Photoworks will start to render this image into a JPEG file. Okay, so once you're done, okay, they will tell you that this render has been completed. So let's take a look at our results. So under this folder, there is this image called Shuttle version 1. Let's open it up. And there you go. We have the rendered image created in Photoworks.